The video is terrible.
Q camera.
No, he's already recording.
He's like, I've recorded everything.
This is the best part.
Be careful. Where do you think B-roll comes from?
Well, here's what's crazy. We've been doing this so long that the last time I was here, I could actually see my notes. Now I got these things. What the heck's going on?
I mean, your Just for Men is working great.
It is. Dude, you know how many things they have to, you know how much they have to plant in here to get this like this? This takes
hair follicles
this thing takes talent.
Well, congratulations on the 100th podcast.
Absolutely.
This is
Yes,
awesome.
thank
So
you. Well done.
right from the beginning. And I appreciate you when you gave us a call, or Francis reached out to us, maybe because you were scared, and said, hey, guys, we would like the three of you to come on. You all have been on the podcast the most, and interview Curtis for a change.
Yes.
Which was great. So we got together and said, okay, we're not just going to wing this. We're going to try to do a little bit here to make sure that we can present a good 100th podcast.
All right.
We didn't dress up. We took it seriously.
Yeah. Well,
We were
do we
going
want to
to-
share what we were going to do?
You can.
You know, this was Toner's idea.
We had a couple ideas, some that were too blue.
Yeah. So we were gonna wear pajamas to this thing, like more like a bathrobe.
Yes.
And you know, then I thought,
Jeremy and I both admitted that we don't have bathrobes.
yeah, like
Do you know
I
a
can wear
bathrobe?
Amy's to
No,
this,
I don't.
but
Don't, Francis? Do you own a bathrobe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Does your bathrobe have a hood?
No.
Because that's only if you're into D&D.
Actually, you know what? I do have one because I wore it as a Halloween costume one year. I was the dude from the Big Lebowski.
Okay.
So I do have one in the closet. I just never wear it.
I have a bathrobe. You guys, now Father's Day, family knows what to get you all.
oh, don't worry, you'll have a Brickmoon logo on your
I want
your
your
new
instead of sweat
bathrobe
jackets
with
next
a
Christmas,
hood.
I'm going to give all of your
It needs to be
employees
silk.
bathrobes.
He only wears
I
silk.
only wear silk.
Would that inspire clients when they come in and all your employees are walking around in bathrobes, right? Like
mean-
they're disheveled.
We like to think that we're all here have comfortable companies.
That's right.
You know, so
Not that comfortable.
So what we like to do is start off with just a little bit of history, some questions behind that, right? I believe I understand your history. So please, as we ask these questions, we're looking for elaboration from you. It would be awesome.
Childhood trauma.
Childhood trauma, most definitely.
Great.
And then we're going to go through some, it's about 199 episodes today. And I'm sure you remember all of them in great detail. So
perfectly.
Perfectly.
Every
But it's
detail.
been how many years to get to 100? How many?
2.
Two almost equally, not two longer? 2 and a plus?
I think we started dropping them in January of 2023. So
Got it.
we're a little over 2. Yeah.
Got it.
Okay.
If you take out the hiatus that we had for
the procedure.
for a couple
2 years
months,
of-
yeah, it's about 2 years.
And
the
you officially
procedure.
fired your first producers, right? Hard firing.
My first producers?
Yes.
My children?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah, the very first, I guess the whole first season, when we did the recordings over there in my office next door, my daughters were sitting behind the computer and they were doing all the
It was a
editing
true
and all
family
that kind of
affair.
stuff.
It
Yeah.
was pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
it was really
It was
cool.
awesome.
Child
Yeah, it was-
exploitation, yes.
Yes. And of
I think
course,
they were like 9 years old, and
Yeah,
you were
now they're
already put them to
college.
work.
Yeah.
it's amazing 2 years.
Geniuses.
Chip off the old block.
And of course, your production, now we're in a studio. The studio looks great. I feel like it's always evolving, right? Even more gear, better gear today than when I was here last. But 2 years, a lot can change in the construction industry in 2 years. So we're going to be looking for some relevance to that. So, all right. Matt, you want to go ahead and kick it off? That'd be
Okay,
great.
so you're from North Carolina.
Yep.
Was there any thoughts of opening a construction company in North Carolina? Or do you wish you had?
No, I mean, when I was in North Carolina, I was in the restaurant business, and I never thought that I would be doing anything related to construction or real estate. So, yeah, that was. So I was born in Houston. We moved to North Carolina. I was about 10 years old. My dad's business or his company transferred him there.
And your dad
And-
made spy satellites
Yes.
over North Vietnam.
Yes,
Okay,
correct.
got it.
Yeah, witness relocation
That's right.
program. Yeah. Yeah. So we were there for his job. I kind of always wanted to come back to Texas, and so my thought was I would move back here and open up a restaurant, which I did. I had a pizza restaurant. In fact, it's just a few blocks away, and I did that for a couple of years. And as a newlywed, I was like, man, the restaurant business is brutal. The hours are brutal. My wife hated it. So sold that and didn't know what I wanted to do. And that's kind of how I got into construction, started working with my uncle who was in the business.
Cool.
Awesome.
That's pretty awesome. So, what I know about Curtis is, he's into all things that start with B. Burgers, beer, bourbon, building, right? And you grew up as a band geek.
Yes.
You're a true musician.
Yes.
So
I play trombone, so some people would argue with that, but I'll take it.
It's the heartbeat of the band.
did you
right?
bring
Is that what every
Did you bring that
instrument player
today?
says?
Because we Q band.
I've got one in the office.
No. We can do that later. If we run out of time, if we have enough time left over, we'll make you play a solo. But seriously, as a true musician, how do you think that has helped you in the building business?
I've used this analogy before on the podcast actually, and I use it with clients a lot too. I think builders are a lot like the conductor of an orchestra, right? Like the conductor of an orchestra has to know like the strengths and weaknesses of all the people that are sitting in the orchestra, like what they do, who's good, what order to put them in, when to cue them to come in. And so I've always used that analogy, and I think it's kind of the same skill set. It's the awareness of the team that you have. It's, again, strengths and weaknesses. It's knowing when to sequence people. It's being able to look at the plans or the score of music and being able to read it and interpret it. So there's a lot of kind of crossover on just leadership skills, I think.
That's a really good answer, actually. I didn't know how you were going to answer that.
That's really going to mess up my question now.
Why?
It's another analogy question. So you referenced that you owned a pizza place. I knew you owned a pizza place. Failed pizza place. Just want to make sure we're
Absolutely, It was failed. Absolutely, I lost all of
Better
money.
that than the marriage.
I mean, it is what it is. We learn from our failures more than our success. So comparing your failed pizza place to running a construction company, or let's say more specifically, building a house, and now you own a mid-tier construction company, right? You
Mid-tier?
Is it mid-tier?
God.
Wow.
It's mid-tier's a
As
compliment.
my kids would say,
tier.
Is it upper tier?
hey, you kind of low key run a construction company.
I mean,
Time?
it depends on-
Can we go mid key or are we going to high key?
I mean,
at
you're
this
kind of
point?
mid,
What are
Dad.
we?
You're kind of so how do you find that those two are relative to each other?
Wow, that's a harder analogy to make, honestly. I mean, it's still. Well, I don't know. I think customer service is the biggest thing that you can kind of equate between restaurant and the construction industry. Like you know, restaurants are all like you have a short amount of time to make a good impression, right? Between the service, the food, all that kind of stuff, and so you have to be really on top of customer service. And I think that, in fact, when I'm looking at resumes for potential employees, if they have on there that they've been a server in a high-end restaurant, even if some of their experiences may be lacking in other areas, like I love to see somebody who's been in like high-end restaurant business or fast-paced business for food service.
Makes sense.
I think there's a great crossover with just how you interact with people and your attention to detail and
Most definitely.
interpersonal skills and all that stuff. So that's the best kind of crossover analogy that I can make.
So I was looking for you to say, well, okay, a pizza is a layers of things to make a successful project happen, and the foundation is the
You
crust.
failed.
What are your
Is that
control
analogy?
layers?
What are your
of the pizza?
control layer that it used? But I appreciate that one. That was a good
Where's
one.
your drainage
also.
assembly on the pizza?
I think I'm more on the Curtis vibe because I would have answered that
Yes.
way also.
If you leave it in the oven too long, it
It
gets
can
real
burn.
toasty.
Everyone has their part to play. There's a slice for everybody. You could get all into that kind of stuff. But do you do this because you came from the restaurant industry? I know I will go to a restaurant and experience like a server or even at a drive-through and someone was super nice and they went like maybe a couple extra steps and they complimented kind of what you are or gave you a compliment when you're in there. You're a really handsome guy is what I hear all the time. And
I get that one.
yes, I would turn to whoever's in the car and go, I would totally want to hire that kid. Have you ever done that?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then I drive away and don't hire him. But still, I wish I'd have said, that kid was great.
I've actually talked to kids in restaurants before and been like, hey, I like the way that you interact. Have you ever thought about doing, this? And
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they don't go creepy. Okay.
you know,
All right, Pops.
I'm so gay.
the other way you could have gone with that is, you always hear the term, it's really easy to start a house. It's hard to finish it.
It is.
Was it easy to start your pizzas and hard to finish? Or is that?
And do you make awesome pizza at home now?
I have not made a pizza at home since I sold the restaurant.
Are you serious?
Oh, come
I mean,
on.
other than buying some frozen dough and throwing it on the pan, and I'm not getting into
What
that.
would it take for us to experience?
Yes.
What was the name of the pizza place to begin with?
It was Firehouse Pizza.
Okay.
And
The
actually-
sub place got pissed at you, and that's why you went out?
So,
Funny you should mention that.
so my good friend and I, his name's Chris Verkeron. He's a builder in Los Angeles now. So we actually had like similar career paths after we got out of the pizza business.
It's clearly easy to get into building. But
Yeah.
anyway, go ahead.
Very low barrier to entry.
Low key.
Area of entry.
So Chris and I started that in North Carolina on campus at UNC Chapel Hill, and at the time we'd never heard of Firehouse subs, like had no clue. So we had Firehouse Pizza. His brother, I think, was a graphic designer, designed a logo independently, unaware of. Our logo is almost exactly like
No
Firehouse
way.
subs. Some of the menu items had some of the same names.
Francis, can you get that online? Oh, yeah. Okay.
Okay, we'll pull that up.
And so what's crazy, like the year after we opened here, Firehouse Subs came to Houston too, and I was like, this is trouble. Like they're a big corporation. I mean, because that was kind of back, kind of pre-internet blow up.
Yeah.
So you couldn't just Google, that information and find those similarities. And I was like, oh wow, we should probably look into this.
And you didn't want to call your business Firehouse Construction?
Nah.
Or House on Fire Construction? One of the two.
When your house is on fire,
Your
give
house on
us a
fire.
call.
Yeah, you give us a call.
We'll put it out.
That's the remediation business.
Well, I know that I'm going to stretch somehow. I'm going to figure out a way to convince you to cook your first inaugural post Firehouse pizza
At Matt's office.
at Matt's office.
In Matt's
yeah.
oven.
Hell
Anytime.
yeah. That would be
Name
great.
the time.
Okay, I'll make some dough. We'll go to
Okay.
Matt's office. Matt,
Boom.
for those
Now-
of you who are watching and don't know, Matt has a built-in pizza oven in his office.
Yes.
So make some dough, roll up in there, have a pizza party.
There you go.
Most
And there's a
definitely.
little bit of bourbon there too.
There's a little bit
I
of
was about to
bourbon there.
say,
A little bit.
that
Get into
goes
that.
well with the bees.
Yes,
that-
Exactly.
I know, but I also have on my bucket list to try. Matt's wife apparently won't buy pizza; she'll make her own pizza,
This is true.
right? And so she had her own dough.
killer
And,
dough.
like, there's no fast food pizza for your family.
I mean, all the
Sounds like a
parties that I've
pizza
been to at his
cook-off.
office, he's like, hey, just buy a frozen HEB pizza. We'll throw it in the oven.
I say fresh made, not frozen, but
That's right. So I need to try Jenny. We should have a pizza cook-off between Jenny
that's what I'm
Pizza
saying, little-
and Curtis Pizza. That would be totally worth it.
I'm
I'll throw down
predicting
on
that
that.
Jenny's Pizza would have made it,
what do you mean? We'll
unlike
get it?
Firehouse.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's a
Wait, this
little
is a
jab.
Curtis grill session.
Exactly.
Yes,
Yeah,
it's a
Roasting.
roast.
It's a roast.
So Chris actually closed. He didn't close it. He sold it to his dad the same year that I got out of mine. So
Okay.
I sold mine. In fact, mine was in business until about 2 months ago. They finally closed it down.
Was it,
Really?
what was
Yeah,
it
like
called?
13 years later, they finally closed
Was it still called Firehouse?
Yeah, it's still Firehouse.
Oh, so
Really?
there
It
were
was-
people.
Two
Why-
blocks,
why-
two,
why
two
have we not
blocks
been
from
there
here
together?
until just recently.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's
I
crazy.
did not know.
Do you know,
it was
in researching you and trying to go through Google and find all this stuff, it started bringing up, of course, that you're here in Bellaire, right? And some relative things. Did you know that Bellaire, when it was developed, was called the City of Homes? That was what they called Bellaire. That's pretty mail it in marketing right there. That is not.
because it was non-commercial. It was City of Homes.
City of
We're
Homes.
separate from Houston. We're
Yep.
just a place to live.
Interesting.
And did you know
Did not
that the
know that.
trolley was called the Tonerville Trolley? It was actually Toonerville, Tunerville, but I'm going to say that it was the Tonerville Trolley.
Well, it's parked over here on Bellaire Boulevard.
That's right.
You can go graffiti it and change that.
Cross out one circle. All right, so now this is where the test starts to become. We're going to go revisit, go back. Ooh, do the Francis, do the little. Let's go revisit some of the podcasts. Okay. Now, of course, these were also all from the beginning. You were recording them, putting them online. So this is your podcast and your YouTube channel that is supported here. So if you go YPS, YouTube, podcast, we see them all there. And hopefully everyone's already liked it, which I was actually really surprised. If someone had asked me how many followers you had on YouTube, I would have said 2,700.
Yeah,
Right?
Nowhere
It's
near
crazy that it's like less than 700.
I know.
What a bunch of lazy listeners.
Because they listen and they don't click like and
Ungrateful.
follow.
Ungrateful.
Subscribe.
That's right.
Come on, people.
Click it right here.
That's
Yeah,
right.
you gotta have the motion, Curtis. Like
Francis,
push
put the big thing on the screen right now with
Hit
the
the-
finger pointing at the button.
Don't be a lazy listener. Boop, boop. Boop, right there at the bottom. So
I got to get sponsors, yo. Come on.
all right. So here we go. YPS-E2. YPS-E2. What do you know about that one?
That was the first one. So our very first episode was just me kind of doing an intro. So the E2 was really kind of the first one with a guest, right?
Yes.
That was Susan Brock talking about site selection.
That's right.
Wow.
Yes, very
Dang.
good. Susan Brock.
Guess what? You can come to the pizza party.
That's right. You can come. All right. So I was on another episode where we were talking about realtors, and I picked on realtors. I said that I don't believe that a realtor's job is actually that difficult at all. Indeed, this is knowing that my older sister is a realtor and all this.
I'm a realtor also.
I know
so,
you're a realtor.
You know.
I know, and I have down on here that you're a failed realtor right here. Yes.
Failed pizza guy,
That's
check.
right.
Failed
Wow.
realtor, check.
Okay. So, and I know that we've all thought about how we get business from realtors, which is really difficult because there's so many realtors.
Yeah,
Realtor.
You never get good.
So,
Is that like
Sorry, Susan.
toner with 2 O's?
no, you're supposed to. If you ever listen to the Realtor, use a licensed Realtor. That's how they say it on.
Okay.
All the
online.
commercials are
All
realtor.
Realtor. So
Learn something on every podcast.
And it's
Now-
not Shepard. Shepard.
Realtor is something a mythological creature.
Yes, exactly.
The Minotaur, the Realtor.
Susan's great. What would you define as a good Realtor?
Or realtor.
What are those traits?
Market awareness, like just having a good market knowledge of your area that you operate in, and not trying to cover in all of Houston, right, or all of wherever you live, but like your specific market, and just being like real in tune with what's going on in that market.
Got it.
'Cause I think a lot of realtors try to. Well, a lot of builders do this too. We try to go from here in San Antonio and Corpus Christi and whatever. But being specific to an area and really digging into and knowing that area, I think is real essential.
What about you, Matt?
What do I think?
Well, yeah.
I mean, I'd say similar. I think having the knowledge of a specific neighborhood or specific neighborhoods is vital. I mean, I think that's really what we all could fill out the contracts ourselves. We don't need them for that. It's really that,
Especially not anymore.
insider knowledge that we get from them. So I think that's huge.
Jake?
This show is all about team, right?
Yeah.
And a realtor,
Yes.
in a lot of instances, is really a part of this team, and is something that goes very well with what we do. And so, I always say there's realtors that do a lot of work, and then there's realtors that are just looking for a commission. And so there's a lot that goes into doing that work. So having access to good realtors is fantastic. And there's some in the city that I refer all the time because I know that they will put in the work to help the client accomplish their goals, even if that's talking themselves out of a sale because it's not the right solution.
Yeah, and not to badmouth realtors or interior designers, but there's kind of a correlation. These are very common side career paths for like stay-at-home moms. Well, you see a lot of people, I'm going to get my real estate license. I'm going to be an interior designer, right? And they're just kind of surface level. They don't really have the knowledge. They're just like, I'm gonna make some money doing some transactions for friends. I'm gonna make some money helping somebody pick out some paint colors, right?
You mean take some money? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that the people who are really true professionals are the ones that are, again, digging into those neighborhoods, get education, staying on top of trends. Like the designers are the ones who are actually taking design classes and learning AutoCAD and all this kind of things to be a real designer and not just a paint picker outer.
Yeah.
Well, and those realtors that can help, like in our situations, that can help a client have that discussion of, hey, is this a tear down property, or realistically, what's this going to cost to remodel it the way I want it to be? They have relationships with builders, with architects, to where they can get that information if they don't know it off the top of their head. But it's like you said, it's the people that really are doing it full time. It's their career, and they really have done the work to be good at it.
Yep.
You're up.
Absolutely.
I'm up. Okay.
You just
Episode 6. Do you know what episode 6
of
was?
YPS.
YPS.
E6.
E6. YPS E6. Financing your new home with.
Financing?
Yep.
Financing would have been
Spanish name.
Jamie. Wait a minute.
Jaime.
No.
Jamie Wolf.
Spanish dog.
Jamie Wolf.
Jamie Wolf.
There we go.
Yeah, Jamie Wolf.
Jamie Wolf. So you had.
And that was 2 years ago.
Uh huh.
Yeah.
And Jamie Wolf, that was probably January or February of 2023, I would guess, something like that.
So, talking about financing your new home, how wrong is Jamie now?
How irrelevant is that conversation from 2 years ago?
It was good advice at the time.
Sorry, Jamie.
I mean, I think he would say the exact same thing, right? Like, he is so market driven.
Yeah, I mean, the market changes all the time for financing, and so that has to be kind of fluid advice. That's not something that you can always follow for sure. Yeah.
I mean, we're all I think all four of us talk outside of this, right? Like what's going on with your business, where are you at? Especially Jeremy, because he'll see projects before we ever do, and if financing is slowing that or speeding it up and where it's going to be. And I think we have an interesting period right now.
You're assuming that architects care about what things cost.
Yes, that's right. Remember, Jeremy gets paid on dreams. You get paid on reality.
Grill session, roasting session.
No roasting the architect.
Awesome.
Okay, so we're on YPS, E11, and E12. You remember E11? So they kind of go together.
If it's E11,
and I'll get to that in a second.
If it's E11 and E12, if it's two that are similar, that's got to be Eric Kleine with Goodsmith, I'm guessing.
No,
right?
you're getting too similar.
They're too similar.
That's too similar.
Oh.
These are different, but I'll get to the main point here in a second. So we're talking about
inspections and quality
you're
control.
Getting there.
You're getting there.
There.
That's one of them.
That was 12.
That's 12.
Curtis.
There you go, Bradley Hurties.
Yeah,
Yep.
you got it.
They're the same person.
Damn.
No, that's what I was. Don't
They're the
steal my
same
thunder.
They're the same person.
Are they the same person?
Yeah, it's like Clark Kent and Superman.
Which one's Superman?
No,
If one was high, you have the second.
I'm going with Bradley as Clark Kent.
No, if you go back and watch those two episodes, which I did at breakneck speed last night, I was at 2x. You sounded a little different at 2x, but they both wore black shirts. They're both sitting in the same seat because that's probably the hot seat that you put them in at the time, right? But honestly, the conversations were exceptional on what the topics were on
Very cool. Two very cool guys that, yeah.
And here's the deal. This is a big city, small industry, so we all know everybody. Mm-hmm. And those are two fantastic dudes. So would you say that the conversations about those two podcasts are still relevant today, and are we having the same conversations?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Doing quality control phase checks by multiple kind of team members, partners, whether it's architect, engineer, home performance. I mean, that's key to getting a good outcome. So yeah, that's one of our key pieces of advice across all the episodes. Really is.
We talked about it's easy to start a pizza, hard to finish it. And we were talking about that with a house, right? And really those two conversations really spun around finishing, right? And how much comes together at the end of a construction project and how hard it is, really setting up. How do you get to the finish line? What do you have in place? What needs to be checks and balances when you got there? So still very...
Yeah, we've covered that subject a lot with, again, on those two episodes with Carolyn Cromines from Exterior.
Yeah.
I mean, not Carolyn Cromines, Rondell Riley. Rondell Riley with Exterior Inspections. Carl.
Yeah.
We talked about it with Toner.
Earl.
Yeah, we've talked about that ad nauseum,
right?
And I'll keep talking about it because it's really important. So I mean, I'm sure Matt will agree, and I'm sure that you guys will agree. A lot of builders, in my experience, will kind of run away from bringing third parties onto the site. Like they don't want people to come look at their work and be looking over
the
their
fear
shoulder.
of like, what are we doing
I
here?
want that architect on the job site picking me apart, or I don't want Toner on the job site picking me apart. Right?
I don't need an engineer telling me what to do, but we want those extra set of eyes catching things.
I want it. I mean, first of all, I have nothing to hide, but secondly, I want the long-term liability protection. If something's built wrong or something's going to leak, I want to know about it before it's covered up so that 5 years from now, I'm not in a lawsuit over it.
Right.
Toner's not sitting across the table with the opposing party.
The other...
And as we've talked about on those episodes and others, is that when us as a builder, when we're on the job site every single day, there's a little bit of fatigue that happens where you can see the same thing over and over again. You don't even realize that it's an issue. And then you get somebody else that comes in and they're like, hey, that's wrong. And you're like, oh yeah, I've been looking at that for the last 3 months and didn't even realize it. And so having that extra set of eyes, it's fresh on the job that hasn't been staring at it.
I remember it's a house that Brickmoon Design that we did in Friendswood, and we got all the way, the roof was on the house. We're starting to put the brick on, and Joel James, who works for Jeremy, came out, and he looks at it, and he's like, I think that turret's framed too low, right? Me, the project manager, the homeowner, everybody's been looking at this dadgum turret on the front for the stairwell on the front of this house for the last 3 months. And Joel walks onto the job site and sees it immediately. And we're like, oh crap, you're right. Our framer totally missed a detail on the height of that thing. And if he wouldn't have come out there and found that thing at that point, you know, it would have been way too late. Right?
Joel was probably on the top of the staircase, all of a sudden going, I'm the tallest guy in here. Oh, no, the ceiling's too big.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, you know, that fresh set of eyes is really important, even internally in our own checks and balances internally. You know, you have a team working on a project, and we'll intentionally bring somebody else in to look at it and review that set of drawings, because you look at the same black and white lines or, you know, the studs and sheetrock or whatever, and you're like, you can look past it. So that fresh set of eyes. I had an employee one time come in, and, you know, I'm one of the reviewers, so looking at the drawings, and he was standing outside. At the time, my wife was working at our company, and he was standing outside the office, and she says, what are you doing? And he says, I'm just praying that I put these drawings down, and then that I can make it at least a minute before Jeremy finds something that's wrong with the drawings. and literally, I didn't know this story. And then he comes
Hey, come in here.
Yeah. He comes in, and within like 15 seconds, I was like, what is that? What are we doing with that? How's that going to work or whatever? And I hear him go, dang it. You know, and so,
It's like counting on his watch.
Amy tells me this story later, but it's kind of funny. But, you know, I think that's where the experience of an extra set of eyes going through a project at all phases is really important.
Yeah, most definitely.
Absolutely.
All right, so YPS E17. Now we're jumping ahead. YPS E17.
All right. Jumped ahead 5 or 6 episodes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we're starting to jump ahead. We're just going to.
All right.
I mean, remember,
rapid.
there are 100.
All right. Eventually we'll make it out
Don't
of
do
the,
99.
Eventually we'll get out of the first season, but okay.
You don't remember this one. Okay, I'll give you a hint. It was depending. He goes by the Texas version of his first name, not the authentic version of his first name. So instead of Franco, he goes
Franco.
by Franco. That's right.
Franco Albarran.
Franco Albarran, yes.
Yep.
Now, you all were just specifically, this was the dream killing episode, is what it's known as online. It is where you're going over the cost
Toner
of
just
construction.
named it that.
Right? This is where you lost all your homeowners. This is where you went, no homeowners, all contractors, right? Listening to podcasts. You all discussed it, and it's actually really interesting to listen to. And Franco has a good perspective because he's an architect and he's a builder, and he does some expert work and things like that. So he's seen all this. How relative to 2 years ago is that pricing discussion to today?
I don't remember the pricing discussion, but back then, 2 years ago, I mean, it wasn't that different 2 years ago, but I mean, I don't know. I can't remember what the pricing was.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't $200 a foot back then. Still, I can promise you that. I mean,
You didn't watch all the episodes.
we were still
at 3X
I
last night?
didn't go back. I didn't go back and review all the episodes before this discussion. I mean, I would guess we were probably telling people, hey, we're starting at $300 a foot or something like that. And I mean, I'm probably telling people now we're starting at $350 to $400 a foot.
Yeah.
But yeah.
What about you, Matt? 2 years to today, difference in that conversation?
Almost the same, I'd say. Yeah, back then probably.
Although I don't know how much of that is a function of market and how much of that is a function of just the types of projects that we're looking at.
Yeah.
It could be.
Yeah, that's not to say you can't build a house for $300 a foot anymore, but most of our clients, what they're wanting and what they're looking for, we know that it's going to be in that $350 to $400.
Yeah, when you get these architects and designers, all kinds of
architects
crazy
are the
crap, but the
worst.
price
Here we
goes.
go again. Here we go
all
again.
Jeremy's fault.
Hey,
I love bashing
don't know about
architects.
you
It's like a
guys.
hobby.
I don't know about you guys, but
should start a whole
it
podcast
still
about that.
only takes $200 a foot to build a house.
It just-
That's what everybody
Hey,
says.
yeah.
Right? I mean, it's
We should
much
teach a
It's
class
been the
on it.
same for the
Wait,
last,
I
10
think we
years?
did.
Jeremy and I taught a class called the $200 a foot
I
class.
remember that. I was there.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was
A long
back in the
time ago.
day.
Yes.
But that number is still thrown around. I can't believe how many times people still walk in the office and think, "Oh, I'm going to build this house for $200."
It's on a billboard somewhere in West Memorial.
It,
It's been there for 12 years.
For 12 years.
okay, so on that topic, real quick, what truly drives the cost of a house? And in this market, in the custom world, you know, low key for Curtis, mid key for, you know, no, seriously, like what you're saying right now to do what most people want in the Houston marketplace, you would say houses are starting at what?
Starting at 350 to 400.
350.
Yeah.
I mean, even production homes. So probably the least expensive production home that we do work for is a builder who does about 1,200 houses a year, build for rent. So no profit derived from their build. Mm-hmm. They build as a loss leader for them. And these are about 1,300 square feet, and they cannot break under 216 a foot without dirt.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. We're not doing that on anything more greater than that. That is, you can barely, building a garage.
And that's probably a 2-story perfectly square box.
Oh no, that's a one. That is a 2-story 1,300. That is like 700 and 600 or 500 and change on the first floor, 700 and change on the second floor. Covered garage,
PT slab, T-ply sheathing.
1 car garage.
Yeah,
one car garage.
So you can't build a house for $200 a foot? Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah, that is correct.
I mean, and if there's any place you could do it in the state, it's Houston. It's not Dallas, San Antonio, or Austin.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we are, every time a client wants to complain about the price per square foot, I'm like, just go to another major city in Texas and you will understand how inexpensive it is in Houston.
Go to Austin.
So as far as what drives that cost, I mean, just all the non-sexy stuff. It's like all the stuff before you can get to the finish. Like you can pick $3,000 slab granite or countertops instead of $1,000 slab. You're only buying 2 or 3 slabs, maybe. It's not much difference, right? So it's all the non-sexy stuff. It's the level of engineering that has to go into the foundations. It's the building envelope. It's the mechanical framing systems. I mean, it's all that stuff that no one sees and appreciates.
Well, it's the architectural details. It's a beautiful elevation that has a giant covered porch, or that's got, you know, a 10-foot plate here and a 12-foot plate there, and then a vaulted ceiling back there. It's all that stuff that you can't put a finger on. Oh, that right there costs an extra $10,000, but it's just all of that drives the cost up. But that's what's attractive about a house too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it's buying a $15,000 per system HVAC system instead of a $6,000 per system that you would have spent, you might have spent 15 years ago, right? It's just the complexity of the systems.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, episode 26 and 27, Eric Kleine, home maintenance. You called it earlier. So he talked about doing various home maintenance projects and things by season. Mm-hmm. So be honest with us. How frustrating was it that it took 2 full episodes and all you talked about was home maintenance?
Is it a dead zone on the podcast, on the YouTube channel?
You see this kind of dip? What happened there? And it comes back
the
up.
energy level kind of
Viewership.
Eric's awesome.
Eric's awesome.
Yes.
I knew that was going to be a long one for sure. When he showed me like what he was was going to talk about, I was like, whoa, that's a lot of information. And I told Daniela, I was like, we have to chop this into 2 episodes because it's just so. I mean, some of our episodes get long anyway, but I'll be the first to admit, but that one was going to be brutal.
Well, but it's interesting. Even just this morning in my team meeting with all my people, we were talking about maintenance and just how we can do everything right with the way we build it. We can build it to the right standards and the right mechanical systems and all that. If a client doesn't maintain it, then they're going to ruin that structure that we just built within 2 years,
2 years,
a year, maybe. Yeah. I mean, if there's no maintenance at all within 2 years, I mean, you start to talk about even just little things like, hey, your ice maker. Like we had a client that 7 months in, they're like, hey, our ice maker doesn't work. Get your appliance people out here to fix this. It's like, well, come to find out that you didn't change your filter at all. You didn't ever
run the
do
cleaning cycle.
Mm-hmm. And so it's like, that's all homeowner maintenance.
And I'm sure the toner sees this all the time with people just not changing a filter on their AC.
All the time.
Yeah.
Out there concave, stuck in there. I'm like, hey, this is your problem. We literally the other
What's
day.
that whistling sound?
The lady's complaining about her airflow. We went up there and just took the filter out. She's like, this is what I needed. I was like, yeah, your filter's a block.
Well, I think
$782, man.
coming through now.
I think a lot of builders aren't good at doing kind of a commissioning walkthrough with people before they when they hand the house over. Like they don't show them, here's where that cartridge filter is. Here's how you change it. Here's all the maintenance items, or give them a homeowner manual or something, something that says this is what you have to do, and these are the consequences if you don't do it.
How difficult, Matt and Curtis, is this when you go out assuming it's a warranty, but it's actually a maintenance issue? Who pays for that?
I mean, if it's something that we can just go out and show them and be like, hey, you didn't change your filter. Yeah. Here you go. I'm typically not going to charge somebody for that. I'm going to be like, here.
Now if they do it another time,
go buy this filter, right? Yeah. You buy it. Now, if I have to buy it, hey, the filter costs $50. Give me $50, right? But if it keeps happening, I'm like, bro, you get your act together.
Or if it's a year and a half later and they're like, yeah, this has been happening for a year. It's like, well, hey, if you would have called us a year ago, we absolutely could have helped you out. Here's what's happening. You got to change your behaviors here. So,
and neither one of y'all offer maintenance programs yet.
We tried for a little while. I've had this discussion with so many people. We've tried doing like a handyman service.
Don't roll your eyes that quickly.
So many builders have tried having a handyman service. It is impossible to kind of hire that jack of all trades kind of guy that it takes to be the person who's going to go out and do that stuff.
I only know a handful of builders that do it.
I think LBJ does it.
Good Child
does a good job.
Yeah, Good Child. Yeah, so there are some companies in town that do that.
Park Lane.
Does he do that now?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't realize that.
Yeah.
But yeah,
if you watched episode 11 and 12, at 3X, you would have remembered that.
That's why I think Goodsmith is a great service because they have that maintenance contract, but they also spent a bunch of money and went out and hired like master tradespeople, and they've got all the people, all the vans.
Yeah.
It's tough to do with like a one-man operation because you're asking that guy to be jack of all trades, and you've got to keep him happy. He's got to be proactive. It's tough.
And I think that was one cool thing about Eric Kleine and Goodsmith, without giving Goodsmith a plug. He was a builder and a remodeler, and that's a safe play for a homeowner to have a maintenance program on, let's say, a 3-year-old new home, because they know what is a warranty and what is not a warranty, and they're not going to imply that something is a builder's responsibility when it is not their responsibility. Mm-hmm. I actually wish they had a segment specifically for that kind of business model. Mm-hmm. But those guys are super busy. Like, oh my God. Yeah.
I think the big problem is that the homes that we're building are so complex, and there's so many things that you have to maintain that people can't really keep up with it. Mm-hmm. Busy people can't keep up with all the stuff that's required. I mean, I can't. I mean, you walk through my house and say, "Oh, why aren't you maintaining it? Why aren't you doing?" I don't have time.
People just aren't as handy as they used to be either. Like you think about your dad or your grandpa just could kind of fix anything, but most people aren't that way anymore.
Yeah.
So.
Did your dad say that you're soft all the time, Jeremy?
No.
You're soft.
Well,
boy,
get out here and fix this.
And again,
bring me a crescent wrench.
Back to the complexity, though. I mean, back then you could work on systems because they were basic systems. Mm-hmm. It was wood and metal. It's basic. Right now, there's so many electronic systems, so many complicated things that the layperson just can't understand. You have to have professional maintenance done.
Yeah, we have a structure that we're working on, not in Texas, and they have a service bay. It's a whole room dedicated, and it's accessible only from the outside of the house. It's where all their air conditioning, all their plumbing, all their AV, and then the back wall of it is against their kitchen, so they can get to a lot of the appliances, and is specifically where that maintenance guy does all their work. Thanks. So they're never coming in the home for 70% of all the maintenance. And he's like, it's the same thing as you used to be able to fill your radiator. You can't do that now. It's just a sealed system. He's like, this is the sealed system for maintenance on a structure. I love that idea, but that's going to be a difficult structure to explain to the next buyer until it becomes commonplace. So.
I've seen that on some really complex houses, especially like up north where they've got basements. I've seen like all the mechanical systems are in one kind of room in the basement, just like that. Yep. It's harder to do in Texas. It's harder to make that room central.
And everything's bigger in Texas, right?
That's right.
Exactly.
There's a lot of sprawling
We did one in Fredericksburg, but you still had to enter the home and come into a central room in the middle of the house. It had to be in the middle of the house to make it work. So,
all right. So
next,
thinking through, do you know when season 1 ended? How many episodes were in season 1? Do we know? Anybody know off the top of their head?
Because
I don't.
You labeled the first videos S and then you stopped labeling.
Yeah,
S's.
because we didn't have a theme to carry through for the second season. So at the time, we were like, you know what, let's just number episodes and lose the whole season one thing. Season one was easily defined because we had a story that went along with it. And when the story was over, season one was over.
Which is still an extremely relevant introduction to your podcast series. Yeah. Right? Like when I tell people, don't go listen to the first one, you listen to the first, it's the first 12?
I think it was
15.
I think it was. I thought
10.
it was like 16. But
I don't know.
Well, I tell them go listen to the first series and then move your way in. It's like playing the OG video game before you go buy the new version of it, right?
Jeremy, do you know what OG means?
I do now. I do now.
We talked about actually going back and like basically re-recording the whole first season now that we have
very swift of you
nicer
to do that.
setup and all that kind of stuff.
Because I bought the rights to them and you don't even know it.
Yeah.
You'd have to go re-record.
So
on that note, I want to give you an opportunity to say what you used to say all the time when you opened the show. Yeah. And give us the... What is it? Come on. Do you remember?
Yeah. Every successful project has 4 key components.
Yep.
Starts with the foundation, which is proper planning. The left wall is routine. The right wall is communication. And the roof protecting it all is proper execution.
That's right.
Have all 4 of these components in place and your project will succeed.
Yes, and I remember doing that with you on early. We're like miming our way through it.
Get the pantomime over there. It probably wasn't on camera, but I'm seeing him out of the corner of my eye doing the YMCA.
Those of us that are always on the show were reminding you. Left wall, right wall, the roof. But no, on that note, if you really think about it, this is a big city. And I think when you started this, there was this idea that there's so much wealth of knowledge and person in Houston that I can do this whole show with people in Houston. Mm-hmm. There was an episode that you finally sold out. Do you remember which episode that was?
Episode you sell out episode?
Which is my
sellout. You know, where
my
you were like,
sellout
I'm
episode.
tapped out Houston. I got to go beyond.
I gotta get
outside.
bigger. I'm bigger now.
Well, so there was a guy who came and spoke at a GHBA luncheon, at a CBC luncheon named Ed Earl.
Are you sure it wasn't Zen Robert Earl Keene?
It was Robert Earl Keene.
The Zen Builder.
Oh, that is the guy.
Ed Earl, the Zen Builder.
So you had to branch out of Texas, but then you got Robert Earl Zen Keene.
But I met him at a Houston Builders event.
Oh, so that's why.
Oh, so that was the reason for the sellout.
Yeah, so he was a speaker at.
You're just trying to make money on the show now. Is that what's happening?
I am trying to make money on the show.
Technically, the Builders Association sold
applications for sponsorships are open.
I have yet to. Actually, we're working on that, aren't we?
Have you been on his podcast?
I have not.
Oh, hey.
I know.
Jeez.
Wherever the camera is.
Reciprocal. Let's
Mr.
go.
Zen.
Mr. Zen, you should already have this.
Branch back
It's
out.
not very Zen-like of him to reciprocate.
Although he was also doing something about being the owner's rep, kind of like what you do.
Yeah, so he was doing what I wanted to be doing more of, which is what I'm still trying to do more of. It takes time to work into that as doing owner's rep work.
Okay. So how's that going after the procedure?
Not as fast as I want. You know, like owners reps are still like really common in high end stuff in other parts of the country. It's still super difficult to get people to buy into that concept in Houston, and I don't know why that is. But I talk my friend in Los Angeles. Yep. Owners reps are on almost every project that he's on. I've talked to people in Chicago, New York, really common. But there's just something about Houston. People, it's the Wild West, and people.
Is it a certain price point for them? I was going to say,
or is it just some point?
I mean, those are all more expensive projects. But even on expensive houses like in River Oaks Memorial here in Houston, I don't think that's common on that here either, right?
Yeah.
I'm working with one in Houston, and he's been an owner's rep for like 20 years in Houston. Mm-hmm. Now he's done some commercial projects when like a business owner is building their new office and that kind of stuff, but the way that he explains it is he said, okay, Mr. Homeowner, what is your hourly rate? Let's say the guy's hourly rate is $550 an hour. And he goes, I'm $200 an hour. So you're going to make $350 for every hour I spend on this project that you don't spend on it.
Yeah.
And he said, that's all I have to do. That either makes sense to the person or not.
Or it doesn't.
So, I mean, I'm on 3 projects right now. On 2 out of the 3, people hired me after stuff had already gone south.
Yeah.
Too far?
Like
was it too far gone?
Yeah.
I always throw Curtis under the bus, like constantly on projects.
Hey, Bruce, I got a project for you.
Here you go.
it's toast. Time for you to come in and make it
I don't
better.
think I've ever given you a referral to a fresh project.
No. So I'm doing one right now where it went through Toner's office, and then it went into some litigation, and now the house is being repaired, and I'm working with the owner to make sure basically to make sure the repairs are done properly, getting put back together the right way. I have a couple like that are going, and then I have one that I was hired almost from the beginning. Things had kind of stalled out before construction started, and so I got hired. So I have 3 of those, and I spend 5 hours a week doing them, 5 to 10 hours a week maybe. But long term, I would love to do more and more of that. That's still that's still the retirement goal.
Yeah,
all right.
for sure.
So I'm going to tell you a little bit about this episode. So it is YPS EP 35 or E35. All right. I want you to tell me, did the last name of this client prove that he was really here just for his own economic gain, or did he actually have useful information? Do you remember who that person was?
Last name, economic gain.
What was the guy's name?
So he's got a money-related last name?
Sure.
Maybe.
You remember?
Daddy Warbucks?
No. Okay, I'll give you it. He actually does
Cash.
There you got it, Aaron.
Yeah.
Aaron Cash. I love that episode. In fact, I think I went back and listened to that episode twice in my vehicle, and then I've referred it to other people because that is first off, his website does a really good job.
It's like garage customization.
Yes. Yeah. Very cool, especially in a remodel. How often do you use the garage for staging during a remodel?
For storing materials?
Yeah.
Oh, every time, yeah.
All the time.
Yeah. Well,
right?
unless it's packed full of the homeowner's crap.
Right. Yeah.
In which case we have a pod in the driveway.
But you don't do remodels if they're still living there, right?
We do. Not whole house remodels. Not whole houses, but yeah, we do.
I'm always like, are you sure you want to live there during
You
this?
don't. Trust me. You don't
Right.
want to live there.
Yeah,
Just move out.
He has some awesome before and after pictures, and we give him a hard time because his last name is Cash, right? I was like, you need like a professional name that's not that. But that was a great episode. Have you used him? Have you found yourself using more of the people you interviewed because you interviewed them?
I have not used their company. No.
Okay.
I've worked with most of the people that I've interviewed, but not all of them. Honestly, like some of our guests are like people that they'll email me. They're like, "Hey, I do this.
Yeah.
Can I be a guest?"
Yeah.
So I think he may have been one of those people that reached out and contacted us.
I referred him, so it worked.
Good. It worked for him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another guy that's been on Slab. Is that one that do you actually use them?
I haven't yet. I'm going to on a project fairly soon. I think you've used them though,
we have.
right? Did they do your office?
They did. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So cool product.
Adrian.
Monitoring slab movement and all of that. So we're just curious with having him on. How much of that company do you actually
How
own?
much did you buy?
Yeah, how much did you get? How many kickbacks?
Yeah, how many
What kind of
units did he give
kickbacks you
you?
getting on that?
Man, unfortunately, I haven't gotten any.
No wonder this studio is so
Jeez.
nice now.
I know
It's kind
exactly.
of warm in here. Have you noticed?
Yeah. And
I know a good AC guy.
I can afford some
Chairs are
AC.
comfy.
Lee, can you come take a look at the studio, please?
You know, you skipped over the most important part of the questions. You really
What's
need
that?
to pay attention.
What's that?
It's YPS what?
Oh, YPS 64, E64.
64.
That was 64. So we're in season 98.
We
at
skipped.
that point,
We skipped
or-
way ahead.
We
did.
We skipped from the 20s or something up to the 60s.
35 to
35 to
64.
64.
There was
go.
about 30 episodes we just had to skip. But, other than that, we know we had
Sorry, those 30.
Just like everyone else.
36 to 63.
I think they skipped all of us. We haven't talked about it anymore.
I would love a series of shorts of updates from some of these previous ones. Like
Like
if
a
you,
Pixar short.
like a Pixar short. I would love to have a
Where are they today?
15-minute where is because that's a real Adrian's product is so cool and I've known him for so long. I would love to see some more recent updates like before and afters from Aaron Cash. I'd love to hear Susan. I would love to hear Jaime Wolf's opinion, right, of where he thinks of. So you have all this. You're building like this network of folks that you could most definitely revisit, and we're asking you their opinion, but they could probably have it.
Hey,
their own.
Francis, write that down, please. I'm
Yeah.
trying to get new episode ideas.
Yeah, that'd be cool, and especially short ones, nice little 15 minutes in between. I love that idea.
Yeah.
So
And,
all right.
Moving on, if you're thinking about doing some shorts, there's one episode and one individual that if you had to have a voice that just had to introduce everything that you're doing.
Zach.
I didn't didn't even get to the.
Zach's got the big radio.
Yeah, the big radio.
Yeah.
Sweet baritone.
Sounds like a country music singer.
How would you like to capture some water?
Rainwater.
How would you like your water to be today?
Although I do want to ask, that's a really interesting episode. How many have you guys used any of that rainwater harvesting capture system as it relates to drainage and detention?
I have not. No,
I have with Zach, where the only way that they had such a large paver drive, and they did not want to use permeable pavers. I don't know why. They didn't want it on a sand base is really what it was. But they'd had a poor experience with that in the past. So Zach came and put a huge reservoir underneath it with a manhole in the middle of the driveway.
Sure.
And they actually got a custom manhole made with their initials on the manhole.
Kind of like the family brand.
Like the family brand,
the crest.
The crest. Yeah, that's right.
I've not done that type of project with him. We're doing one right now in Braze Heights on a house that was built 5 years ago on a 6-foot crawl space, and they want to add basically a bladder in the crawl space for the rainwater capture.
Yeah. Well, if you go back and listen to that episode at 1x, not 3x, because it's really interesting from the aspect of, you look at how important drainage is in the city of Houston right now and beyond, and all the things that we're going through. We do have to come up with some creative solutions for how we're going to, if we're going to house that much water, what can we do with it? And so I'm anxious, to listen to that great voice again and think about how we can really use that on some of these
storing that amount of water. But then also I think of we love our green yards and beautiful landscaping and just not wasting
that water,
city water that you've paid for, and you're paying for the sewer portion of it as well.
And it's a big deal in like Austin and places like that. In fact, my uncle's ranch that I hunt at a lot, they don't have a well on the property. They couldn't hit a well. And he was having water trucked in on a semi and fill up a storage tank, but he installed a rainwater capture system on his house and his barn. He now gets all of his irrigation water, all of his drinking water, bathing water, everything off the roof in Austin, where they don't get that much rain. Yeah. I mean, it's really impressive how much water he gets, and there's a filtration system, and it's potable.
Now, since we want to make sure that we manage the 100th episode very, very well, so we have about 5 more minutes to be at a full hour on this episode. So I want to make sure that we don't go over.
Wow.
You're assuming he hasn't cut out half of what's been said.
Going forward for the 101.
Mommy Toner, are we okay?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I just want to make sure.
All right, Matt.
Okay, so we've got to ask favorite episode. For one, which of us three is your favorite? Obviously.
Yes, obviously.
Co-host.
Hold on.
Then what's your favorite Jeremy, Toner, and Matt episode?
Aside from this one?
Aside from this one. And the pizza cook-off that's coming up.
For you, probably the one that I did with you and Cade.
Okay.
I really, really liked that discussion about
because of
project
Cade?
management.
Project manager.
It's just nice to have somebody besides Matt.
Yeah.
That guy really knows what he's talking about.
More hair, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
No, that was a great episode with you and Cade. I really enjoyed that one. With Toner, I'd probably have to say the Christmas episode that I did with him and Ryan.
Yeah, that was a fun one
because everyone came dressed up. We all had our cute little Christmas outfits on.
Sexy Santa.
We didn't have the robes on today.
Yes,
I think
right.
that was a good.
That was a bit of a
call.
fever dream episode. We were having a good time in that one. Yeah.
And Jeremy,
so forgettable.
I can't remember what he was on.
You said
I got Francis laughing in the back. Don't put that on there now, Francis.
No, you and it was an engineer, I think. We did one about remodel versus tear down. I think it was you and Sandro.
It
maybe.
was.
Yeah. So
thank God Sandro was on that call.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I love that whole remodel versus tear down discussion with people in general. So
it happens often.
Was good. I mean, I have it all the time.
Yep.
Oh no!
Hey.
Oh man down! We got a man down. For those of you
start
listening, Toner just knocked
beginning.
the microphone over. The Gong Show back there on my logo.
So we're getting to the end. This is the 100th, or will be the 100th episode. What's up for the next 100?
Man, I've got about 20 more that are kind of charted out right now.
Okay.
Still trying to find some ideas, so I'm open for ideas from you guys if you got any. But I know here in the next here in the next few months, kind of what we have on the docket that's interesting, exciting, is I've got Matt Reisinger is going to be on that. That's not until September though, so he's going to come here in September for something. So that'll be September. In July, I've got Brad Levitt. I don't know if you know who he is. AFT Construction, a Finer Touch Construction out of Phoenix.
Oh, out of Phoenix, yeah.
He's got a big podcast. It's very popular. He builds like super high end luxury homes in Phoenix, like $15, $20, $50 million type projects. So I'm actually going out to Phoenix to do one with him. I'm doing one with my buddy Chris in Los Angeles.
Oh, that'd be cool.
To talk about wildfires and the whole rebuilding thing that they're going through.
In pizza shops.
And I was about to say the revitalization of the Firehouse.
Yeah,
No pun intended.
so we'll touch on pizza, I'm sure. So those are just a few of kind of the bigger, more exciting ones that I've.
So you're going to go on the road a bit.
Got
next 100.
Taking the show on the road.
That's right.
Taking the show on the road.
Very cool. And what percentage of your listeners do you think are professionals versus homeowners?
Probably 95% industry people, which is kind of why I did a shift. Like the first season was all geared toward homeowners, and then I realized that most of my listeners were professional or industry professionals. So I said I don't want to abandon the whole homeowner focus, but let's broaden it and try to do at least a 50-50, or still always include some nuggets that homeowners could take away, or one of you guys could listen to it and you might hear something and say, hey, I should send this to a client. This is really good. Right. Some good advice that you can kind of pass on to them.
So you have a creative bone in your body, right? That's what all this entrepreneurial stuff comes from. When you think about how you started this, and there was this story, and I remember talking to you about this when you got started, and you were really you're a pretty good writer, and writing that story, and it just came across so easily. One, from our experience with doing this and with homeowners, right? But is there a storyline to this next 100 that you're writing?
No.
Are you going to bring back out the pen and paper? Or,
no more storyline. But
okay,
but I am working on turning that into a book, though.
Okay,
really.
So I want to take that story.
I knew we were digging deep.
Yeah,
we're
So I want to take that story and kind of how like business books are written, like business fables. It'll have like a story in one chapter, and the next chapter will be more of an analysis. And then another chapter of the story, another analysis. So something kind of along those lines, where I'm taking that story and expanding on it a little bit, and then kind of breaking down what decisions were made, good and bad, and how it should have been done. So that'll be my how to build a homeowner's manual type.
You got the kids working on that also?
Oh yeah. They can do my artwork.
There you
gotta put in the work, man. Come on, they gotta pay rent somehow.
I think that would be a really cool book. I remember reading a book in the 90s, and it was basically like a short story book of business failures. And there was one where a guy owned a construction company, and his sales team was doing really, really well, and they banked all of this growth and all of this capital on it. And because these guys were going out and they were kind of like the 10 men, they were selling cabinets. But come to find out, they all had a rampant cocaine problem. So they all hit a wall.
There's our drug reference.
That's right. Sorry, drug reference. But he ignored the well-being of his sales team, and they all cratered at once. And he had gone so far leveraged to grow his business, and he just never bothered to look at his team. And that was a lesson for him. And, he of course hid names, and you don't really know, because it was actually a public company at that point when he was telling the story. So I like the episode that you and I did where we had a shared project where the homeowner started off in a remodel and it cratered. We did, I think, towards the end of last year, and we told that story. And I love that the stories that you would hear at a bar, right? Not the stories that you would tell normally on a podcast.
Yeah. So one thing I'm going to try to do over the next, probably over the next 10 or so, is I've kind of written out some kind of like personal introspective type things, where I'll probably share a little more personal information or like successes and failures type thing, right? Because I have, in fact, I talked about this. Who did I talk about this with? On the podcast that's coming out this week with
99
with some GHBA members, which will come out right before this. Anyway, I mentioned that, hey, I've done everything the wrong way at some point. And so in the lessons that I've learned from that. So over the next 10 or so episodes, we're going to do some talking, or it's just me, and I'm just kind of talking about, hey, this is where I screwed up. and this is what I learned, and this is how it made me a better business person, builder today because of these mistakes. So I mean, I've almost been out of business for mismanaging money, mismanaging employees, all that kind of stuff. Pizza's a great
real estate.
I mean, it's
real estate, Realtor.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. That's a great example. I mean, I was 23 years old when I had the pizza place, and when you're 23 and all your employees are 18 to 21, it's just like one big party. It's like I mean, literally. Sure. I mean, not like party, but like you want to be everybody's buddy, right? Like because you're close in age to those people.
You don't want to be the boss. You want to be the friend.
Yeah, you want to be the cool.
You don't want to be isolated.
Just hang out, right? And I definitely have made that mistake as a business owner too. Again, hiring people who are about my age and getting kind of too buddy and not having that separation of boss-employee relationships, which is actually one of my topics I'm going to talk about. But yeah, there's so many lessons like that I've learned over the years that I want to communicate. And in fact, this is totally a different thing, but I'm starting. This fall, I'm actually starting coaching a builders group that's being put together right now. There's a guy named Kyle Hunt. He has a podcast. He has a builders group, kind of like the NAHB 20 clubs, but it's more remodeler focused. And Kyle runs 2 of his own groups right now that are very similar to the 20 clubs. He's starting 2 more groups, and he's bringing in me and another builder, remodeler, to coach those groups. And so I'm really excited about that because I feel like that's kind of like a way that I get to give back and kind of like help younger guys, impart some knowledge, all that kind of stuff. So twice a year we'll be doing offsite retreats for that group of builders and monthly kind of Zoom calls and check-ins and things like that. So I'm excited about the coaching aspect of that.
That's awesome.
Well, I appreciate you being so honest about talking about those things that you've recovered from, but I don't want to disguise the fact that we're here because of your success today.
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Like, so 100 episodes. Yeah. Good job, Chris. This is awesome.
Well, I mean, my success is also due to you guys as well. I mean, I have great relationships with all 3 of you. I mean, obviously Matt and I are also kind of competitors, but there's
enough business in the town.
I have no problem calling Matt and asking for advice or a referral on a subcontractor or whatever, and helping each other. And you guys, we've both done a lot of work together. So, I mean, my success is due to the great group that I've surrounded myself with.
I remember around episode 10, Matt and I got a phone call from Jeremy, and Jeremy's like, man, that Curtis thing's not going to work. It's not going to work. And we're like, no, it's going to work, Jeremy. He was insisting we were going to fail.
Jeremy.
You're going to fail. He's going to fail.
Man.
I was like, no, it's going to work out.
But
and it did. It worked out.
Yeah.
So congratulations.
Despite Jeremy's objections, it worked out great.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yes.
I will say the impetus of all this is that you care. And I think that's the biggest thing. You have a big heart, you love people, and you want people to succeed. And
absolutely,
that comes through in this show. So
thanks.
Good on you.
Well, and I'll say thank you. Like my team listens to the podcast, and like we will often discuss an episode or a topic or something that was pointed out in one of them. So it may not be what you imagined it was going to be in episode 0 in terms of more towards homeowners and clients, but I think your audience now being mostly builders, architects, people in the business, I think we are getting a lot out of it. So we thank you for that.
Yeah.
I mean, my heart is that I don't want people to get hurt on something that should be a fun, exciting thing that they're undertaking, right? Building a home, remodeling a home should be something fun and exciting for your family.
Yeah.
And so Toner and I both, and all of us, right? Like we see these instances where people are not having fun at all, right? It's the opposite. So it breaks my heart every time I see that. And that was the whole reason that I started the podcast and started Shepherd, was to help shepherd people through the process.
Absolutely.
And hopefully get some better outcomes for happier homeowners.
So can you take us out with the pantomime?
Again?
Yeah, here you go.
All right. Every successful project starts with the foundation of proper planning. The left wall is your team. The right wall is communication, and the roof protecting it all is proper execution. That's
not the roof falling down.
Have all 4 of those components in place, and your project will succeed.
That's the firehouse. That's the fire. That's the rain.
That's when you use T-ply. That's when you use T-ply as your sheathing. It blows over.
Oh, it blows over. This is the homeowners are getting a divorce. They're going 2 directions.
All right. Well, thanks, guys. And thank you all for listening. Take care.
Happy 100.